The best story in baseball is not going to be found in Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York. It also won't be found in Pittsburgh, Miami, or Sacramento. Funnily enough, it's also occurring in a minor league ballpark, just like the ladder. Outside the bright lights of Major League Baseball, the Dayton Dragons are doing something the 2025 St. Louis Cardinals could only dream of, selling out baseball games. Not one, not two, not three. The Dragons have sold out nearly 1,600 consecutive games. In fact, depending on when you are watching this very video, the team could have easily surpassed that mark. In full disclosure, has this accomplishment been gerrymandered to a certain degree? Probably. It's believed the team stepped in to buy their own tickets when a few games were close to not selling out. Then again, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hit streak wasn't all line drives to the gap. He benefited from several, shall we say, generous official scorer decisions, most of which came against the Chicago White Sox for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. The end result is all that appears in the final box score. And the end result here is that every Dayton Dragons game has been sold out since the year 2000. For a sport where attendance is declining in many parts of America, Dayton has bucked that trend. In fairness, this is an off-the-radar sports hotbed. The Dayton Flyers are a huge draw in the city. Herrera Arena, it's not technically in Dayton, it's in nearby Trotwood, but usually it just gets lumped in with Dayton. It was a hockey hotbed for a minute in the 60s and 70s. Also a hugely popular wrestling venue throughout the years. The original Sheik and his big-time wrestling organization ran the building quite frequently. Decades later would see his nephew Sabu return to Herrera Arena for the 1998 version of ECW's Heatwave pay-per-view. There he teamed up with Rob Van Dam against Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki. Other alt sports have come and gone over the years. Indoor football tried to make its way in Dayton with no success. There was a hockey revival that failed. Not everything finds success, but when Dayton gets behind something, it's really behind it. There's an old wise tale out there that Dayton Gym's goaltender Pat Rupp liked the city so much that he opted against signing an NHL contract in order to keep playing there. I don't get it. Then again, some things in life just aren't for me to get. They just are. And the Dragon sellout streak spanning more than 20 years now is proof of that. A single-A ball club selling out this many games in a row, especially when you look at the big picture, is just incredible. It's not as if Dayton had this rich history with baseball prior to the Dragons' arrival in 2000. The city had minor league sides come and go during the 30s and 40s, but it wasn't a part of the official minor league baseball pyramid since 1951, so almost 50 years. In an interview with the Dayton Daily News, longtime Dragons president and general manager Robert Murphy noted that a lot of people thought this was an experiment that was going to fail. 25 years later, so far, so good. The Dragons began life in a brand new ballpark, then known as Fifth Third Field. Today, it is called Day Air Park. Obviously, when it first opened, it was new and exciting. Renovations have been made over the years, but newness isn't why fans keep turning out to see the Dragons play in each and every game. Although that Dragon scoreboard, it kicks all kinds of ass. Regardless, there are deeper reasons for the ball club's success. Some argue the affiliation with the Cincinnati Reds has helped the franchise. Maybe to some extent that is true, but it's also not like Cincinnati is this long, arduous drive from Dayton. It's roughly 50 minutes to an hour each way. That's honestly nothing. As someone who lives in Sacramento and who's gone to A's and Giants games over the years, I would gladly take a 60-minute commute each way. Also, it's not as if the Reds farm system has set the world ablaze since the Dragons began play. Seeing the Red Stars of tomorrow loses quite a bit of luster when you realize this is a franchise that has won only 2 playoff games since they became affiliated with the Dayton Dragons. Sure, watching a young Joey Votto is cool. Sal Romano, not so much. What most folks come back to as it relates to the Dragons and home games is the experience, is that this is a team that does all the little things right, making the experience fun for the entire family. It is root for the home team, but it's also just being able to spend a summer's evening in a place that brings you joy. The general consensus is that pricing for Dragons games is relatively affordable. The team isn't gouging folks. They can make their money while keeping the stands full. This is a concept lost on so many major and minor league ball clubs around the nation. With so much focus being spent on selling corporate boxes and high-priced premium seats, this is proof you don't need to neglect the average fan or their family. Quite frankly, the success of the Dragons is proof that if you keep things fun, if you keep things affordable, if you build a long-term relationship with the local community that isn't entirely transactional in nature, baseball will succeed.
People will come, Ray.
The thing is, Field of Dreams had it wrong. It is not if you build it, they will come. I mean, Lone Depot Park is proof of that. In reality, what you have to build is that connection with the local community, and that is perhaps the most interesting part of the Dragon story with Dayton. The ballpark has become a generational gathering point for the community. Their president and GM noted that parents took their kids to games in the 2000s. Now those kids are all grown up and they're bringing their children to Day Air Ballpark. Funny how that works.
So they sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Major League Baseball has become absolutely obsessed with bringing in new and younger fans. They want to go viral. They want to do TikToks, change the rules, and rip up everything that made the game special in the first place. And as all of that's going on over here, off to the other side, we're going to allow owners to hold markets hostage. We're going to empower billionaires to nickel and dime average folks under the threat of relocation. Unsurprisingly, this has seen the MLB alienate itself among a huge number of fans. Fans, of course, who would have brought their children to the ballpark. Fans who would have done the hard yards of marketing for them. I know a lot of people around my age that have zero interest in taking their sons or daughters to go see a Major League Baseball game. It's expensive, the product isn't as good, but most importantly, they know those teams do not care about them or their community. They are simply there to be a profit center for these franchises. It's obvious for all to see that most MLB owners only care about making as much money as possible as soon as possible. For all of this work Major League Baseball has done to bring in new, younger fans, it's chasing them away at a much faster clip.
This game is a part of our past, Ray.
The Dayton Dragons, though, they're what baseball should look like across all levels in all cities of America. Yes, teams make money. There's nothing wrong with that. But fans, they still get a team to support, an experience that's affordable. Folks are entertained. Everyone is welcome. You don't need to extract every last cent of value in the here and now. You've done something successful for 25 years. You can easily do it for 25 more years. That's enough. Like, do you want that $1 today, or do you want the hundreds of dollars you can make in the future? This is just basic business, by the way.
It's only $20 per person. They'll pass over the money without even thinking about it.
Of course, this has been lost on Major League Baseball, an organization who helped develop streaming technology and then went all in on cable television as that medium was dying. Good job, Rob Manfred and owners. Sadly, the Dayton Dragons were recently sold to Diamond Baseball Holdings, aka Minor League Baseball Megacorp. Now, there's one thing that needs to be made perfectly clear. The Dragons aren't under any threat to be relocated. I mean, obviously they have the sellout streak, but more importantly, they have a long-term lease in place. The city's agreed to make renovations. It's a very stable situation. Yet the writing is on the wall when it comes to DBH and the future of minor league baseball. This is just going to become one giant soulless corporate entity. Teams will have different jerseys, different hats, but everything is going to be run in the same way from one location, and it's going to be run by people who love profits and not baseball. We also know the end goal here is to contract minor league baseball, so there are only 60 to 90 teams. What happens to a team like the Dayton Dragons when they're operated by and large, as opposed to someone there in the community on a daily basis? Well, if it's anything like Major League Baseball, the average fan becomes marginalized, taken for granted. Sell those corporate boxes, sell that premium seating, everyone else be damned. If they show up, okay, and if they don't, who cares? So while the A's can't fill 10,000 seats at a minor league ballpark in a city allegedly starved for Major League Baseball, the White Sox engage in a war with their fan base, and Rockies ownership complains about how he can't compete with the Dodgers despite raking in an EBITDA of double that of his NL West rival. At least baseball is still fun in some parts of America. Finally, I may have said Daytona and not Dayton a few times in this video, and for that, I apologize. You see, the Cincinnati Reds low A affiliate is in Daytona, Florida. Their high A affiliate is in Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, Daytona, that's not a huge difference. You just throw an A at the end. And I can only imagine this has caused some confusion in the Reds organization since the affiliations began. Seriously, the only thing worse would be the Miami Marlins having an affiliate in Miami, Ohio, and also calling them the Marlins, although I think here they would probably do that thing ESPN does where they'd be the Miami parentheses Ohio Marlins. Anyway, congrats to Dayton for having America's longest professional sports sellout streak. A hell of an accomplishment for the Dragons, but hey, also, your city hosted one of only like 5 Hayabusa matches to ever take place in America. That's quite the feat itself. Dayton, it's a really weird sporting hotbed. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the wrestling references, you can check out my new wrestling channel here on YouTube. That is in the lower bottom hand corner of your screen. And to better understand why Major League Baseball doesn't need a salary cap or have a problem with that, check out the video in the upper left hand corner of your screen. And until next time, I am Cheyenne Holtless. This is the Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.